Hi, I'm Chloe. Thank you for visiting our video. Find out why our team can provide you the best services for your needs. Hundreds of clients can't be wrong. Check out the following video.
Real Estate with Realtor Kashif Sohail. Welcome to Washington, America show with international multimedia journalist, multidimensional, multifaceted artist and director of Human Rights Justice Council USA, Dr. Kashif Sohail.
Through a range of principles, smart growth seeks to limit urban sprawl, to preserve and increase open space, and to reduce traffic congestion. As development speeds away from urban centers, open space is consumed, traffic congestion increases, and urban housing and office space is abandoned. The smart growth movement is receiving national attention, but each state is attempting to address the issue in some way. When we use the term sprawl, we usually are referring to low-density, single-use development, like shopping centers, office parks, and subdivisions, where housing types and prices are segregated, and commercial uses are separate from residential. This configuration tends to be very land-intensive. Development that is spaced apart and segregated in this fashion requires a growing system of highways and roads, which leads to traffic congestion and a loss of farmland or rural character.
According to recent U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics surveys, 32.9 cents of the average household dollar is spent on housing, while 17.0 cents is spent on transportation. Transportation costs increase for larger cities with significant sprawl problems, like Northern Virginia and the District of Columbia. Effective public transportation systems can combat transportation costs, but they require investment of state funds that are often lacking. Gas taxes have also been proposed to encourage less time in the car. However, increases in transportation costs and traffic congestion come with political pressure to build or expand roads, which may all encourage more time on the road and increased sprawl.
Land use controls, including zoning laws, building codes, and eminent domain, are the principal means of controlling growth and density. But where does the authority to zone derive from? The government derives its right to control private land use from the Constitution. This authority is known as the police power. The United States Constitution delegates police power to individual states. In turn, individual states delegate this authority to counties and municipalities. The police power provides a broad grant of authority to act in a manner which promotes legitimate land use objectives, so long as they further public health, safety, morals, and aesthetics. While very broad, there are some limitations on police powers contained in the Constitution.
Constitutional limitations on the police power are contained in the Due Process, Equal Protection, and Takings Clauses of the Constitution. The Due Process Clause requires that minimum procedures be followed by the government when imposing restrictions on private land, procedural due process. These procedures are designed to provide landowners a fair opportunity to participate in, and be made aware of, restrictions on their land. The Due Process Clause also requires that government regulation of private land be rationally related to a legitimate state objective, or be within the scope of the police powers, substantive due process. The Equal Protection Clause prevents governments from intentionally regulating private land in a discriminatory manner. The Takings Clause permits governments to exercise the power of eminent domain, or the right to take private property for a public purpose. However, the Takings Clause only authorizes a government taking if the government provides just compensation for the property. Issues may arise with the Takings Clause where property is not formally taken, by eminent domain, but is regulated to such a degree that the owner is said to be deprived of all its reasonable value. In this case, courts may determine that the regulation must be stricken, or that the owner must be compensated for his loss.
Governments have traditionally exercised land use control through city planning, zoning, building codes, subdivision regulations, and codes to regulate building safety, such as fire codes. However, in recent years, controls have expanded to include noise abatement, attempts to prevent air and water pollution, problems related to population growth, the creation of environmental buffer zones to protect ecologically sensitive areas, and downzoning certain land for environmental or recreational purposes.
Eminent domain is the right of government, both state and federal, to take ownership of private property so long as it is taken for a legitimate public use and just compensation is paid to its owner. Quasi-public organizations, such as utility companies and railroads, are also permitted by state law to take land needed for utility lines, pipes, and tracks. Through eminent domain, the state may acquire land for streets, parks, public buildings, right-of-ways, and other uses. No private property is exempt from this exercise of government power. Where private landowners fail to consent to a taking, the power of eminent domain is invoked through a lawsuit called a condemnation proceeding. Through condemnation proceedings, the government sues the landowner to obtain title to the land and to determine just compensation based on the market value of the property.
Building codes are a valid exercise of the state's police power, intended to protect the public health and safety. They are usually designed to establish minimum standards of construction in such areas as plumbing, electrical wiring, load limits, and building materials. In some cases, these codes are based on national standards. However, certain jurisdictions with special problems have developed very specialized building codes, such as areas prone to earthquakes, hurricanes, or frequent flooding. Building codes are enforced by the issuance of building permits and periodic inspections at certain phases of construction. A final inspection is required before the state issues a Certificate of Occupancy, CO, which indicates that the building conforms to the building code.
Zoning is the systematic division of a city or county by legislative regulation, ordinances, into various districts or zones. These zones define permissible uses of land within each zone, thereby excluding certain uses from certain zones. Each zone is assigned a land use classification such as residential, commercial, industrial, agricultural, or special use. The zone in which a property sits may influence its value, depending on the permitted and surrounding uses. Zoning ordinances regulate things such as use of land and buildings, structural and architectural designs, permissible improvements, height and bulk of buildings, density, lot sizes, and setbacks.
Zoning laws are enforced by requiring that a building permit be obtained prior to the building of any structure. If the proposed structure does not conform to permit zoning and local building codes, the building permit will not be issued and the development may not occur. For city planners, zoning ordinances are the primary tools for implementing the master plan. For the average homeowner, zoning ordinances can protect property values. For the real estate developer, zoning ordinances represent a process she must follow and a restriction of certain uses. For the real estate speculator, zoning ordinances are often the factor that can make or break a real estate deal. Zoning can account for two similar pieces of property having vastly different values, and can turn a poor investment into an excellent one, and vice versa.
So, since you've learned more about us, click the link in the description to see how you can contact us.
Please share this video, subscribe to our channel.
Are you looking to buy or sell a home anytime soon? If so, you've come to the right place. We'd like to give you the opportunity to work with one of the top local real estate agents and get the best deal when buying or selling a home. The fact is, experienced agents can often get you a 2 to 10% better deal on the purchase or sale of a property, mostly due to their experience in the local marketplace and their ability to negotiate the best deal. So contact our top agent now and start the process of buying or selling your home.